So yeah, my name is Valeyo. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Co-founder lead over here at Quasar. We are the app chain for Interchain vaults. I'll go into a bit more detail later. But yeah, we've been going on for this for 1.5 years, and actually 2 of the panelists were are investors of ours, Figment Capital and Blockchain Capital. So pretty cool to be here today. We're going to go a bit through kind of the journey of where I see Cosmos heading, generally speaking, and how IBC is going to play a role beyond Cosmos, actually. And then also talk a bit about how Quasar plays a role in this and how Quasar is going to also grow with Cosmos and with IBC. First things first, though, I want to give a huge shout out to everyone at helped Prop 466 and Osmosis. Some of you may have not heard about it. We had to change the parameter on Osmosis on our launch week. We were all on the offsite in Dubai, and we realized there was a parameter change needed. So we attempted the first expedited proposal ever, which needed 66% of votes of all staked Osmo in under 24 hours. And we broke it, so it worked. We got $150 million worth of Osmosis voting in under 24 hours, or a much more insane number, 22,000 people. So if any of you voted, I just want to say thank you, because you allowed us to launch on time, and that was sick. I also want to applaud the 6 people that voted no with veto. At least you tried. So, Cosmos season, proclaimed by Jack. Broadly speaking, in my opinion, it ushers in a new era of collaboration in Cosmos that goes beyond just trying to suck off each other's TVL, but actually build infrastructure that uses the connectivity beyond just onboarding people. And in my opinion, that is going to be 2 factors that are going to be the next generation of Cosmos products. It's going to be products that grow by connection to other products. It's going to be products that grow by collaboration with other products. We see ourselves in that basket, but so do we see also Noble and Stride. All our 3 products only work and only grow if the underlying are interesting and if people want to interact with the other Cosmos chains or with the other chains using IBC. And so we essentially see this kind of new flow of liquidity, Noble bringing in native USDC, Stride bringing in and unlocking staked liquidity, and Quasar having interchain vaults and strategies across the interchain that can also bring predictable capital, flowing down to all the chains that we want to see flourish and grow. And this new unlock allows us to have kind of go beyond the hub wars and beyond the wars on the ground and the mud fights we have, and accept that we have a TAM that could potentially 100x, and we need to work together to actually capture that instead of against each other. Part of that backbone, in my opinion, is going to be the evolution of IBC. IBC is going to be and is already much more than just token transfers. We often compare it as a substitute for centralized bridges, but IBC has actually grown way beyond that. We've worked together with our friends at Polymer on the ICQ implementation, which now allows you to query information decentralized through IBC from other chains. There's ICA interchain accounts which act as embassies on other chains. If you want to look more into ICA, Riley from Stride has some great Twitter threads about that, so you should check him out. CosmWasm, we have the first and only CosmWasm contracts that work with IBC so far. We're going to open source it soon. It's currently going through multiple auditing stages, but that is going to allow for contracts to engage across IBC and not just on the chain they're deployed on. Packet forwarding, we've seen a great presentation of that before, allowing for multi-hops, so essentially transactions that go beyond multiple zones in one go, further allowing and automating what you can do on IBC. We got Croncat, the if this then that of Cosmos as well and of IBC, which is going to allow to automate processes through IBC. And then, of course, with Osmosis cross-chain swaps coming in, utilizing the core infrastructure of IBC for the first time as the backbone of what is built. And I think that shows that good connections are worth more than the risk that you're onboarding competitors or having good liquidity flow to competitors. I think part of the biggest issue we have in crypto is the zero-sum mentality in a growing ecosystem where we are scared to have good rails to our competition, even though we are building one of the most capitalist systems in the entire world. And if you can't flow liquidity freely through that, and that's against our thesis. And to look at countries here, China and the United States are some of the most competitive countries against each other in the global space, but they're also some of the most globalized countries that have utilized each other's specialties to grow together, whereas other countries that have not done that have grown at a much slower pace. Countries that have nationalized their economy and tried to keep it all within their own borders are struggling to find product market fit essentially on the country scale. United States using labor of China and China using the capital coming from the United States to expand their own economy. And I think that example showcases that if you specialize and you actually take the AppChain thesis further, it is an exponential game we're playing over here, not a zero-sum game. Look at the world GDP once we started with globalization. Obviously, globalization has some critique points, but nonetheless, the point is it's an exponential game we're playing. We think DeFi should run on IBC. IBC is not an augmentation of DeFi. IBC should be the backbone of DeFi moving forward. Because if you have an isolated economy, that's weak, and if you have a strong globalized economy, that's strong. And we think that if you connect the economies to IBC, you can build a strong DeFi ecosystem. IBC is also not just a way to steal TVL. We think that if you look at chains or at projects generally in all of crypto, even beyond crypto, in the fintech space, trying to do multiple things, they're going to be okay at multiple things and never exceed at one thing only. Because you only have so much time to focus on quality if you're doing so many things. So if you aggregate the amount of work spent and time of work spent to get to somewhere and you combine that, you can get much further if you specialize in just one thing. And that is now a possibility because with IBC, we can connect specialized products together, even beyond Cosmos. So we say IBC is the key driver for the AppChain thesis beyond Cosmos and also allows for deeper specialization moving forward, which is going to create better products because teams are focused on figuring out that one product market fit and expanding on it. It is also our Arc reactor, which we're going to red pill the rest of crypto soon, and we're going to bring IBC beyond Cosmos because that's one of the biggest unlocks that is still necessary. Cosmos is still a relatively low TVL ecosystem, with Noble bringing native USDC, and with projects such as Polymer bringing IBC beyond, we're going to have an actual TCP/IP of blockchain very, very soon. So now let's talk about Quasar a little bit. IBC vaults. First of all, I hate the name vaults because vaults are actually just funds. So whenever someone asks, well, what is a vault? Well, it's just a fund. A fund can be an ETF like the S&P 500. It can also be a 50x leveraged sub-second trading economy. A fund is just a pool of money that executes something on behalf of the people that pooled the money. So having IBC interchain vaults, in our opinion, is pretty based. And we'll tell you why. First things first, in order to deploy a contract that runs on other chains, you only have to deploy in Quasar, which means you don't have to pass governance on the destination chains as long as ICQ and ICA is enabled. It also allows you to consolidate the control of your vault and capitalize on having a single point of contact for the user experience, which is very fragmented in Cosmos and needs massive improvements. The contract uses IBC, ICQ built on IBC and ICA to do any action on the destination chains it wants to do. That depends on how you code it, but it's all possible. Whatever you can do on a destination chain can be coded into the Quasar vault. And then the destination chain benefits from that flow because we are building rails of liquidity. We're connecting liquidity to the destination chains instead of sucking up TVL. We are in the game of AUM, assets under management, not TVL. And so the destination chains get predictable capital because they can see what the contract is supposed to execute. They get predictable volume because they see how fast the contract executes. And they have very specific capital deployment, so they can also fix issues they have actively by deploying a contract that fixes that specific issue for them. What are some of the pros beyond that? As I've said, concentrated capital. It means that with IBC going beyond Cosmos, you will not have constraints of where to deploy capital. I've just been speaking at the investor manager roundtable at CoinDesk yesterday with all the asset managers, Apollo and the Millenniums of the world. And their main issue is that they don't want to pick an ecosystem beyond Ethereum because they're overwhelmed with the question. They just want liquidity. That's what they're looking for. And all of our fights outside of Ethereum of which ecosystem is better, they could not care less about. So we need to connect those, finish that conversation elsewhere, and let them finally deploy capital where they want to deploy capital. Having free capital is the goal of crypto and the goal of our freedom in the economy. Secondly, the control of not needing to pass governance. Asset managers alike, whether an independent team or an institutional asset manager, want to have as little factors that they don't control that they're exposed to as possible. vaults in the future are going to have own vault governance, which means the governance of a vault is only going to be dependent on the LPs in the vault. Vaults will also be able to be private, which means that entities that are subject to KYC can only allow KYC entities, for example, to invest. It will also be permissionless, which means if someone in a country like Turkey or Argentina has a great idea to value and to create a strategy across IBC, they will be able to do so. There's no discrimination there. The interchain automation aggregation aspect as well, we connect different aspects of the interchain, so you can also execute across them. For instance, a vault could automate restaking your Atom staking rewards and periodically taking those, sending them to Osmosis, swapping them for USDC and sending them to you. You can essentially automate processes that you already do for other people, and you can also automate things like DCAing in, DCA out. Again, to stress this, anything that you can do as a manual human, a vault can do, even across different zones. So now the question is obviously, how do we get to that future I've just been painted? We launched a month ago, so mainnet is live, and we have the first vault, but we don't have yet a thriving ecosystem. So that's one of the main challenges that we at Quasar are facing right now. So how do we bootstrap the Quasar ecosystem of strategists? The thesis that we have is, if liquidity is going to start flowing between different chains, and is going to be connected, and all these different chains benefit from liquidity having free flow, then they should probably work together, right? We think the same. Right now, you have two chains connected by IBC that are, without saying it, playing the game of taking each other's TVL to some degree. We think the future of IBC looks like this, where chains actually use IBC as the backbone of some of their products they're offering, combining and connecting each other's benefits and creating a more cohesive user experience that doesn't really care anymore where is their denom being routed through to be unwrapped, because that's not what users should be focused on. So, with that thesis set, how do we bring those teams together? The first step into that direction is what we're announcing today, which is the Quasar Interchain Grants program. We're going to have a big announcement on that next week on Twitter, but for now, all I can say is that teams alike, whether chains or people that want to have grants for building strategies, can start applying for a grant on our website. We're going to work together with different chains in the ecosystem and combine our grant programs for strategies that work across the interchain, finally unlocking the fights on the ground between who is getting a grant to whom, and accepting that it's a better product if we pool in together and build strategies that work across IBC. So if you are a chain or representing a chain or someone in the Cosmos ecosystem, go to quasar.fi/grants. If you see this presentation in the future as a recording, that will probably be a website for strategists to get the grants. For now, it is the teams that want to join us in that endeavor to finally bring IBC together. So, how does the future look like then? Asset management as an industry needs to come to crypto. Right now, it is absolutely not in crypto. This is a pretty insane number, but 30% of all global assets are under management. That's around $40 trillion. That makes no sense to my brain, but it is the actual fact. In crypto, though, only 3% of all assets are managed. I don't think that's surprising at all, because our market has been constantly punished for trusting other parties. Our market has constantly been punished for giving up your liquidity. And it's very hard to build trust in an anonymous distributed system that's very young. You can't look at a track record of a hedge fund that has 30 years of returns. You don't have that in crypto yet. Someone hitting a 300% strike in 1 year is not necessarily a good asset manager, which means that we also have around 0% trust in custodial products. So we need to bridge those factors in order to increase asset management as an arm in crypto, because whether we like it or not, as people that have self-custody on Ledger, most users won't do that. They want experts to manage capital for them. So we need to build the infrastructure for them to permissionlessly manage the user's capital in a decentralized system through IBC, so there's no discrimination of the destination of the liquidity. The first very obvious unlock for that technology is, of course, ETFs. It's the most easy use case to implement, but it's also the one with probably the biggest asset size. The S&P 500, one of the biggest financial products in our entire world. Having ETFs be built through our infrastructure actually allows you to build real ETFs. What do I mean by real ETFs? If you buy an S&P 500 today, can you redeem the underlying assets? No. Can you vote on the proposal? Can you vote on governance of the underlying assets? You also can't do that. You know who can do that? Asset managers and hedge funds. They have the infrastructure to do that. We should have the same infrastructure. Building an ETF through IBC with the Quasar platform means you can redeem for the underlying assets, which means at any point you can give back your ETF share and get all the actual underlying products that you own. It also means that you generate the yield. So we don't suck up the staking rewards, or even worse, you are unstaked as you hold them, meaning that you lose to inflation. No, you get the actual staking rewards as you hold the ETF added to you as well. And thirdly, which is also very important, is in the future, governance needs to be enabled for that product to work. The reason you have not heard us pitch that a lot yet is because we're not yet at that point, but we will be very soon, at which point, if you can vote with the underlying assets and governance as well using IBC, then we are talking about real mass adoption ETFs that are ecosystem agnostic, decentralized, running through IBC, and can be redeemed from the underlying. If that's not a massive step to the right direction, I don't know what the hell is. So, Quasar is already live. You can check it out, Quasar.fi. We've also raised the caps. A lot of you have been waiting anxiously on that. Yesterday, we raised the caps, so feel free to check out our first vault, Osmo Pro, which with one click on Quasar, which the chain, by the way, you pay gas fees in Osmo. With one click, the chain sends your Osmo to Osmosis, LPs them into 3 pools, and gives you a vault share that represents your share in those pools. On top of that, you also get Quasar rewards. So yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for listening, and I wish you a great day ahead.